Alright, my name is Brittany Wright, and I chose Reading Recovery as the literacy intervention program that I am going to talk about for my presentation. So, what is Reading Recovery? It is a nonprofit, well-established commercial literacy intervention program. Specially trained teachers, which are led by Reading Recovery professionals, have the ability to make moment-by-moment decisions in this intervention program. The developer is Reading Recovery Council of North America. As far as copyright goes, all Reading Recovery Council of North America publications, which include print, electronic, and web formats, are protected by U.S. copyright. Any other use of the publication requires prior written permission, which even extends to emailing downloaded files from the website and publications to others. The materials are provided for personal, non-commercial use of purchasers of publications or visitors to the RRNCA website. So some of the overall lesson content that this intervention program is going to cover is phonemic awareness, phonics, spelling, fluency, and comprehension, which we will delve into a little bit deeper as the presentation goes along. The purpose of Reading Recovery. So who is the program meant to serve? The program is meant to serve first grade students that are low achieving and struggling to read and write. And the length of the intervention can last anywhere from 12 to 20 weeks. It just kind of depends on what the Reading Recovery teacher feels is necessary for the student, as well as what the leadership literacy team feels is best, which we'll get into that again a little bit later as well. So the students who are chosen for this program work one-on-one with a specially trained teacher for 30 minutes every day. Here are some overall literacy components. I talked about phonemic awareness, phonics, spelling, fluency, and comprehension earlier, which is the overall lesson content that this intervention program is going to cover. But here are some of the all-encompassing literacy components. So as far as literacy itself, those 5 that I just mentioned are very important, but these are other key important items that Reading Recovery finds crucial to a student's success that cover community and school relationships, as well as the literacy intervention team, which we'll talk about. So number 1 is the vital professional learning community. It needs to be a comprehensive system for Reading Recovery to work. So the school needs to view themselves as a learning community. This is achieved when colleagues engage in discussion about their practice, their students, and professional development as well. So just a very positive and interacting community of professionals that are really ready and willing to help these students learn and do anything they can to help these students get where they need to be and on grade level with reading and writing. Number 2 is effective classroom literacy instruction, which includes research-based instruction, which we've talked a little bit about as evidence-based practices. So these are based on sound systematic assessments and progress monitoring as well. There's an inclusion of whole group, small group, and individual learning opportunities. The instruction is going to build on strengths of the students as opposed to focusing more on the weaknesses and filling in and building those gaps. There's also a focus on active learning, so the students are going to remain engaged throughout their literacy instruction, and there is a highlighted need for high quality texts. Number 3, assessment and data monitoring is an important literacy component. And so the instruction is based upon each student's literacy behavior. Progress monitoring is done consistently, typically daily, and is used to check on student achievement and to instruct and modify their future lesson plans. Assessment data can also be used for school-wide collaborative problem solving. Effective literacy interventions. Documented evidence of effectiveness based on student outcomes. So they're looking at what the student has achieved or hasn't achieved, what strategies are working and which aren't based upon progress monitoring. Supported by high quality and ongoing professional development, research procedures, standards, and guidelines for implementation, reliable and valid assessment and observational tools. So these Reading Recovery teachers are not only observing their students, so doing a little bit of an informal assessment, but they're using reliable and valid assessments, which means that the assessment matches what activity the student is doing. They're also based on very high expectations. So the last two, so this is the literacy leadership team that I've talked about prior. They're responsible for creating and monitoring the comprehensive literacy plan. They're also responsible for goal setting for literacy within the entire school. So again, this goes back to having a very all-encompassing and all-engaging school system to set up a positive reading recovery intervention plan. This team is going to meet regularly to examine student data. It's going to discuss the issues related to teaching and implementation. So if anything seems to be going wrong or is not being implemented correctly, they're going to discuss these kind of things and problem solve to figure out what they can do to fix it. They're also going to assess for staffing and materials. So if there aren't enough reading recovery teachers to implement this one-on-one daily work with all these students that need the help, they're going to talk about that and what they can do to help promote more staff. They're also going to organize professional learning opportunities. They're going to promote communication and monitor and adapt the comprehensive plan as needed. Family and community is the last one, which is definitely important. It helps strengthen the outcomes of the comprehensive literacy system, which, as we know as teachers now and future teachers, that getting the parents involved and the family involved and understanding their background and community is very important in a child's academic success. The school will want to design ways to work with families and the community on behalf of the literacy goals for each student. So this just means that you're going to be in constant communication with those parents and their families to let them know what strategies they're using, what are working, what aren't working, and what the family members can do at home to help them reinforce this material that they're learning at school through reading recovery. So here's some sample lesson content that the teachers might be doing day to day with these reading recovery students. They could be reading familiar books or books from the day before. Maybe they're starting a new book. They're going to be taking running records. They're going to be working with letters, whether they're using magnetic letters or writing letters on whiteboards or whatever they think is best for their student. They could be writing a story, or maybe they're assembling a cut-up story. They're also going to be working on problem solving and comprehension. So this promotes decoding that is purposeful, which is going to help students read fluently, which ultimately is the purpose of reading, is reading fluently to gain comprehension from that text. They're also going to develop strategic behaviors to use on text in reading and writing. They're going to look at letter and sound relationships, hear and record sound, and work with spelling patterns. So, to be a reading recovery teacher, what do you have to do? So the school districts are actually going to select reading recovery teachers, which must be certified with record of successful teaching experience with young children. They're going to engage in a full academic year of professional development with graduate credit under the supervision of a registered reading recovery teacher leader. And this teacher leader is going to make at least 4 observational visits, if not more, just depending on what that reading recovery teacher feels is necessary. They're going to participate in 1 intense week of assessment training. During this week, they're going to learn to administer, score, and interpret the observation survey. Teachers actively participate in weekly classes, and through the knowledge that they'll learn in that class, they will then apply their learning by teaching 4 individual students on a daily basis. So this will be the 30-minute period that they'll be, in the future, implementing daily with those students. Reading recovery teachers only work part of the school day during one-on-one reading recovery lessons. So here are some examples of assessment. Clay's observation survey, running records, which will most likely be taken daily. And the first 10 sessions will provide opportunities for assessment, and some of the opportunities include observational data, which will then modify their instruction, daily lesson records, samples of students' writing, and change over time in reading and writing vocabulary. And the 2 positive outcomes that the Reading Recovery Council of North America hopes to get through this intervention program is 1, that the child no longer needs extra help and the reading recovery lessons are then discontinued, or 2, that the child makes progress but does not meet the rigorous criteria of grade level performance, which the reading recovery teachers and the leadership literacy team will then discuss and decide what's going to be best for that student. So that is my presentation. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about reading recovery, and if this is implemented in your school system, then you will know a little bit more about it and be able to be a team leader for your school. So thank you.